Hi, Chris.
Hello, Gordon.
Right, so for anybody that hasn't watched the video on Chris and his wing walk, I would highly recommend it. We've just been having a great chat about that. But I also asked Chris if he could do a video whilst I have him um, on the benefits and advantages of joining a support group. Now, obviously, he joined PACT. I don't know, because I haven't actually asked the question, had he been a member of a support group of anything else previously before?
I hadn't, no,
You
not
haven't,
really,
no.
no.
So, what made you get involved in coming to a support group and why PAC? Because there was a couple, I suppose, around at the time. But what was the reasoning for joining a support group, and what was the benefit to you of this particular support group?
Right, I'll do a bit of a background into introduction. So, we moved to Lincoln from Grimsby in 2018. In 2018, we knew Artemis had um, various issues, but we didn't actually have them nailed down at that point. We'd literally just moved to a new school with Artemis. We'd moved south of the county towards Lincoln itself,
Mhm.
and as parents, we were absolutely on our knees with Artemis. We were struggling to cope with him. We were struggling to identify what was wrong. We didn't know what we were doing wrong as parents. Artemis was very angry, very frustrated. It was affecting the family life quite a lot. At that point, he had a medical diagnosis, a chromosome diagnosis, and he also had his global developmental diagnosis, and he was diagnosed with autism pretty much within 6 months of arriving in Lincoln. After we didn't really go down any of that while we was in Grimsby, not because we didn't want to or anything. It was just the fact that we were moving at that time, and that's just where we were within within the road of his diagnosis.
Yeah.
And it was an off chance discussion with the children's doctor and his school Senko that passed on the message of PACT. And at this point, we were about ready to do anything because life was just becoming so much of a struggle every day because we couldn't understand him. It's that my own mum turned around and says, I'll have the kids for an hour. You go and go to PACT. And I can remember that first day as well. It was the first support group meeting that we went to, and I think literally both Elle and I just literally broke down. I think we just had enough. We couldn't cope and things like that. And that was the start of getting back on our feet and starting to become a family again, because just talking to other parents that had been through similar, and to see that they've got through to the other side. Don't get me wrong, the other side isn't a green meadow where you bounce around like little bunny rabbits and everything's perfect. Don't get me wrong, Gordon, there's still challenging days,
Indeed.
but it gave us the ability to find techniques to be able to manage situations. The fact that we was having a meltdown every couple of hours, and we didn't actually identify them as a meltdown to start with. We just thought he was just plain angry and just couldn't, and just being obnoxious at times. Whereas it wasn't until we started discussing the impact that we realized that he was actually having meltdowns. He was struggling to understand, and then you feel that guilt as a parent that you don't really understand what your child's going through. But
Mhm.
the fact that you tilt to other parents and say, "Yeah, we've been there. We've been there. We've understood." Every parent will suddenly, like a light switch, understand that. Okay, yeah, you know, this isn't right, and we've got ways of sorting it. But the support groups with Andrew Whitehouse and being able to do those workshop days were absolutely fantastic. It gave us the tools to be able to manage situations. You can't get out of them, as Paul would actually, he says that you can't get out of them, but you can reduce them and you can manage them better. And to be fair, that was one of the key things that that we learned that you can't get out of them, but you can manage them better. You can get around them better. You can provide better information, better resources, and things like that. And because of PACT, we was able to get him into a specialist school. It was the fact that yourselves at PACT and the people there says, well, okay, you can get him into a SEND school, and it was because of that we was able to get him into a specialist school. It was because of PACT. We knew how to get an EHCP. We knew how to get funding specifically for his needs and things like that. So that all came out of PACT, nowhere else. And it was the people, the parents, the people at PACT, and the fact that I could interact with people and share experiences and say, oh my God, this is just a disastrous day. I haven't got a clue what to do. And somebody just putting their hand on your shoulder and saying, yeah, I've been there. I've been there. It's it's an awful place to be with, but it can get better.
Yeah.
I've got a little picture on my desk at work, and it's a picture of a person in a hole, and the person of a picture with a passing a ladder down, and it says it's something like the doctor will tell you to fill a form out to get the ladder. Your family will turn around and say, oh yeah, I'll get that in a minute, but a parent of an autistic child will say, yeah, I've been there. The ladder's here, it's coming down, and I'm coming to get you out. And I think that's probably the best thing that I could describe about PACT is PACT is that ladder that got me out of a hole. It got Elle out of a hole. It got the whole family out of a hole, and it was able to provide us with a method for Artemis to have a better and fulfilling life.
Yeah,
I think.
Because I do remember there was a time that there was a real moment halfway through the journey that you were having where it caused a tremendous amount of soul searching on how do we do things. And at the time we had a good, healthy number of parents coming to PACT, and it wasn't any one person you could say they took me through here. It was a combination of different scenarios, different parents saying, I've done that, it worked, or I've done that and it didn't, and we had to do this. And I think it was a realization. I almost saw the light bulb coming in your head. Is that I'm searching for an answer that doesn't exist.
Correct.
Something to fix my son, and that's never going to be there. And I think once you took that on board, it just changed everything for you, and you went down a completely different path.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. We're as parents, we all want our children to be the next prime minister. We all want them to be the next entrepreneur, the next person to invent the light bulb. You've got these great grand ambitions for them. And it took me a long time to understand that Artemis isn't going to be the next prime minister, but whatever he does, he's going to be happy in it. And like you said, once I got that realization that, that he's not going to be that, but he's going to be happy and he's going to enjoy life. Like I say, it's that light switch moment, but you don't get it from speaking to one parent. You've got it speaking to lots of different parents. And like you said, not one thing solves everything, but just speaking to people and say, oh, I tried that. Yeah, I tried that and it did actually work, but I tried that, but I fell for a pitfall here and it didn't work for me. Because each child is different. Artemis is different from any other child. So what one thing works for one doesn't work for another. But you get that that understanding that there's methodology there that you can utilize, adapt, and then you can see whether it works or not. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. It's not a problem at all, because you can always say, right, okay, that didn't work, but we've got another method here we could try as well. And it's and the other thing is, as a parent, you always think to yourself, what have I done wrong? What did I do wrong to make Artemis like this? And that took me a long time to understand that it wasn't my fault as a parent. And that's a big thing to understand as well that, you know, I always blamed myself for Artemis being the way he is. Whereas now I look at Artemis and I think he is the most wonderful superstar he is in the world. He's taught me so much more about life
Yeah.
than I could ever learn from anybody else. He's, you know, what he does do and what he achieves. I am so proud. Yeah, he's, you know, there's no point me comparing him to any other child in the world.
Yeah.
Like we do it in primary school. Little Johnny's done absolutely brilliant today, and I'm in the corner going, "Oh my God, Artemis, you know, what have you been doing?" You know, that doesn't affect me anymore. I look at Artemis now and I think to myself, he is absolutely amazing. But it took a support group like Pact to be able to get me to understand and realize that. And like you say, once I understood and realized that, I turned a corner. And turning that corner has opened up so much more for Artemis. It
Yeah.
has as well. And it's helped us as a family as well. It's helped both myself and Elle well, I mean, we probably never will fully understand Artemis as a person, but we've got enough to understand and go, actually, he's probably not going to like that very much, or actually, you know, that's probably not the best way of doing things, or yeah, that would probably be, you probably would get that actually, you know, and things like that. So, you know, whereas before we'd just go, right, that's it, we're doing it, and that's it, that's final. Now it's a case of, okay, we'll try and adapt that, you know, and things like that. So yeah, I'm not going to lie that Pact was, you know, absolutely brilliant in helping me personally, but also helping Artemis and I mentioned his mum Elle and and our daughter as well, because our daughter struggled to understand him. But again, she's getting better with him as well,
Right.
and she's a lot better now than she was before. And that's because of the work that we did behind the scenes with Pact to be able to get that information over there and trying to get it at a level that she can understand
Yeah.
and things like that as well. So yeah, Artemis is who he is just as much to Pact as it is to us as parents as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. And I think that's an important point that you make is that the support group, whichever support group it is that you
Yeah,
join, it's not just for the child that has the diagnosis because autism or neurodivergent conditions affects the whole family. And
it
it's the
does.
support for the whole family that's really important. And each individual of the family is going to take something different from the information that is provided and
Yes,
depending on where their needs are at that particular time.
it is correct. Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, it probably took me a little bit longer than Elle to get it round in my head, but like you said, it's the fact that you've got somebody to talk to. It's the fact you can just go, you know, even if it's just the monthly uh, evening and just go, oh my God, you know, it's just the last month has just been horrific, and it's okay, right, okay, let it out, just let it out, and you know, and let's see what we can try and do. And that was brilliant because having a child with who is neurodiverse is difficult to try and describe it to a parent of a child who isn't neurodiverse because
Mm.
they just have no understanding of what you're going through, and that's all. That before I met Pax, that was all the people that that I could talk to were all families of neurotypical children. And so me trying to explain something to them was like me trying to explain astrophysics. It just wasn't going in. Whereas the parents at Pact, I could explain something and go, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. Or yeah, I've had that before.
Yeah, yeah,
Or I've experienced that before as well. I know exactly what I mean. I know exactly how you feel. But that was the other thing is I didn't have to explain my feelings because they were already there. People already understood what I was going through, and I think that was a big help for me as well because I ended up having a mental breakdown. I can talk about it; it's absolutely fine, and the fact that I could talk to it with people at PACT and say, yeah, it's I've had very similar there. It is incredibly stressful being a parent of a neurodiverse child. It is incredibly stressful things are 10 times more difficult, and they still are. You know, Artemis still struggles to do his buttons up
Yeah, yeah,
on a shirt. He will always struggle doing it. I always have to help him. But now it doesn't bother me. Whereas before, it sounds stupid, but it used to stress me out completely. You know, oh my God, they're just buttons, Artemis. Just get on with it. They're fine. They're absolutely fine. Whereas now it's a case of, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, we know you can't do them. It's absolutely fine. It's not a problem. Let's work with you and do things like that. It's a change in attitude, I think, as
yeah.
a parent. Well, it was for me. I mean, I can't explain it for everybody, but for me, it was a massive change of culture, a massive change of way of approaching things, and I learned that through the people who attend PACT and who are at the PACT support group.
I know I say to virtually all the parents I engage with, and I'm pretty sure I said it to you. And I always worry, particularly when I say it very early on. But I say to them that it's us, the parents, that need to change rather than our children. Our children will change as long as we change first of how we communicate. Uh,
Yes,
and that part, I think, and you've just said it there, is so important because if we take the stress and the anxieties away from them, all these difficulties that we're having, as you quite rightly say, they don't go away, but they definitely reduce.
they
And
do definitely
we can
reduce.
grab hold of them a lot quicker because we can sort of see, oh, I shouldn't have done that or I shouldn't have said that. I need to change it quickly and grab hold before the film. And we don't always do it. I mean, I still get it wrong every day with my children,
Yeah,
or my young adults. But it's recognizing that that was me, and it's nothing to do with them. And so if something does go wrong, it's yeah, that I did that, and it's not a blame
yes,
of bad parenting or anything else like
no.
that. It's a matter of highlighting what we need to do to communicate, really.
It is, and communication is a key. And Artemis did struggle to communicate because he did have speech and language difficulties. He didn't really talk until, well, I say later on in his life, or later on in his childhood. But he did struggle to communicate. He would speak, but it wasn't exactly in sentence format. It was very, as we'd say, pidgin English.
Yeah,
It was, but he didn't want to use Bakaton. He didn't want to use PEX or anything like that. He wanted to talk and things like that. But once it's that communication, and like you said, it's not bad parenting at all. It's not bad parenting at all. It's how we as parents adapt for our children to be able to, for us to be able to communicate with our children. And once we've got that understanding, you know, you start on that recovery program. You start on that hill upwards. You do, and then you can start that understanding process. And one thing that I haven't mentioned, which I would like to, is that a parent of a neurodiverse child is always a battle. You will always have a battle with schools and things like that. And one thing that PAC did teach me is never give in, is never give up, and to keep fighting those battles because it is hard. It's incredibly hard as a parent to get pushed out and told at school that, you know, there isn't resources available, there isn't this, there isn't that. We were lucky with Artemis. We had, you know, two schools that were absolutely fantastic with Artemis, but I do hear of schools that, you know, that could do a lot better. And I know as a parent, it's too easy to give up. And I know as parents, we don't give up and we do keep fighting, and it's incredibly difficult and stressful. And one of the greatest pieces of advice that a lot of parents always used to say, and they still do, is don't give up. Keep fighting those battles because that you will eventually get there, and your child will be better off once you've got through that battle.
yeah.
And don't get me wrong, the battles never stop. They will always continue. There's always the next battle. We're having the next battle now of Artemis because he's going into year 10 now, and in September, and he's going to have to go to college, and we're going to have that fight of the specialist college provision for him. We are, which yeah, I'm ready for it. I'm not looking forward to it, but as a parent, I'm ready for it. I'm ready for that battle again. And once
So,
that's over with, there'll be another battle after that.
so when you talk about battles, and you're absolutely right, we will have battles, we will have fights.
Yeah.
Did you have to prioritize and sort of say some battles I just have to let go?
Yes.
But
Yes,
then
I've had,
and
yeah.
that's not giving up, is it?
No,
That's just
it's not.
boxing clever, really, in terms
Yeah.
of my energy has to go into this area and I'll
Yeah.
battle that, because that's the one that's more important. And it's identifying where the right battle lies, isn't it?
It is, yeah. You've got to pick what's achievable. Obviously, as parents, it's an art of well, I say it's an art of negotiation. It's not really. You want what's fully over in the right. The council or the education department is offering what's full in the left, and somewhere in the middle is where you're going to get.
Yeah,
It is obviously you're not gonna go straight to the middle bit. You want as best as you can for your child. And like you said, there are going to become points where it's okay, all right, we have this provision. I would have liked to have had the extra provision on top of it. For Artemis, that was his dyspraxia, but that's always going to be a problematic thing in Lincolnshire, just because of the way it's funded in the NHS. But that's me personally. Other people may get on better depending on their child's conditions. But that was the thing that I had to, like you say, not give up on, but we had to draw a line and say, okay, he's got his specialist provision in schools, he's got his SEND school, so therefore, that's something that we're prepared to say, right, okay, I'd rather take the SEND school over than the dyspraxia if I had the choice. So we went with the SEND school. So, like you say, not every battle wins. You have to prioritize what you can prioritize. And again, it depends as a person as well. Some people will fight to the death, and as parents, yeah, that's perfectly fine. But it will sap your energy as well.
yeah, and I think that's the benefit of the support group as well. When you are fighting and talking to other parents, it's worth getting to sort of say, is this a battle? Because we can get caught up
Yeah,
in our own emotions, and
yeah,
it needs somebody else from the outside, but who understands
yeah.
what you're going through to sort of say, let it go,
Yes,
let that one go because you're going to make yourself ill, but
yeah.
that one there is going to give you the right outcome that you need there.
That's
Um,
correct. Yeah,
take somebody who's been through it to be able to tell you.
it
Uh,
does. Yes, it does. Like you said, yeah, it sometimes takes somebody else who's been through those battles and things like that and say, yeah, I've had a very similar scenario, and this is what I ended up having to do. And it does give advice, because as parents we can get very fixated, especially if you're in that, that's it, my child is going to go there and that's it, this is what I'm going to do, and all the rest of it. And actually you say, well, actually, this other school will probably, will be just as sufficient what's been offered to you. Or no, I want that school because that's what I want. And that's when you suddenly realize it's not what I want, it's what the child needs. And you have to sort of try and remember that as a parent. And it's not until you go to a support group and things like that, when you talk to people, and it's good because you get that reminder of saying, okay, is that what you want, or is that what the child wants, or is that what the child needs, or is that what you think he needs?
yeah,
Things like that. So there's always those things, and especially for Artemis, who couldn't articulate, especially what he needed or what he felt. It's difficult to try and get that out of him as well. So we've decided to take the lead on Artemis when he goes to college, of what he would like to do, not what we would like him to do as parents,
yeah,
what he would like to do. Because Ella and I have well, we changed our tact quite a lot after we'd been to PACT, because it was a case of, no, he will sit GCSEs, he will sit them, and then he's going to come out and all the rest of it. Whereas now it's a case of, well, education is for life. You can always go back and do education, but I can't teach, or schools won't teach I say the rules, societal rules of how you act in the world, in life in general. So the school he's at now is a case of, okay, maths, English, and science. Yeah, we will be taught those, but our main priorities is to make sure that he can function in society. Can he look after himself? Can he do the washing? Can he cook for himself? Can he use the cooker without blowing the house down? Those sorts of things that, to me, I look at it and say, actually, those are probably more important for him to be able to do, and be able to function in society. Because at the end of the day, he's not going to want to stay at his mum and dad's house for the rest of his life. He's going to want his own life.
Yeah.
And I would like to hope that I have the confidence that when he's got to that age and he's got to where he wants to be, that he can turn around and say, actually, I'm going to go live my life now. And you know, and I'm confident that the schools, the Send School, have given him those skills that he can do,
Yeah.
and I can have that confidence because I, I've gone back to university as an adult, you know, so he can learn maths, English, and science throughout the rest of his life,
Yeah.
but he can't learn those social skills. Those social skills are those skills that we take for granted as humans, you know, how to say hello to people, how to act with people and things like that. And if he doesn't learn those, he can get himself into a lot of trouble. And we obviously, as a parent, we don't want those. So we took the route of, well, the education sort of thing, it's not hold it, he continues with it, but we asked that the social skills and how to deal with money and how to deal with friendships and things like that was more of a priority for him, so that he could gain those, so that he's set and ready for life. But that was us as parents thinking, actually, you know, ideally as a parent, I want him to sit his GCSEs because, you know, if you haven't got GCSEs, you can't get a job. Whereas we took a step back thanks to PACT and said, actually, what does Artemis need? And our view was he needs those skills to be able to function in life before he can do anything else. And that's where he is at this moment in time. And to be fair, he's coming on leaps and bounds at this moment in time. And he's doing so well. We didn't think we'd ever get to where he wants to be, but he's still on that upward road, and he's learning at an astronomical rate for him, which is pleasing. So, you know, we do get correspondence from his school, and we think to ourselves, God, you know, I am so happy as a parent that he's learning these skills. So, like you say, and if it wasn't for me coming to PACT and to be able to change my own attitude to Artemis, you know, we never would have got this far with him. And yeah, so I personally owe a lot to PACT to be able to have got this far with him. And, you know, we will continue with PACT as well for as long as it takes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that Artemis will be with PACT for a long time after that as well.
Yeah. The change in him is superb. I've noticed for quite a number of years now. And you've mentioned to me, and he's also mentioned, he is able to articulate what he needs, what his needs and wants are, not what other people want him to do. And that's huge.
It is a huge. That was a massive thing for us when he would come home and he would literally ask us things, and we're like, wow, this is absolutely brilliant. Before, it was a case of, how are you? And you just walk off. Or you tell you what you think you want, what he thought you wanted to hear. Whereas now he will actually tell you what he feels, because he thought, if he told the way he thought was, if I tell you what you want me to hear, then that's a good thing. When that's not really necessarily the best thing to do. Whereas if he comes home from school and he's had a bad day, you all right, Artemis? How you doing? No, I've had a bad day. Fine. Okay. Right. Okay. Do you need anything? Do you want some time alone? Do you want to, you know, just watch a bit of telly? Things like you can then help him to sort himself, to get him to be able to sort himself out. Whereas when you come home before, he'd just be angry. He would do, and you say, "You all right? Yeah, of course I'm fine." Okay, you've just told me what I wanted to hear rather than what you actually feel. And you know, those things are superb. And like you say, it's only through hard work and perseverance, and you know, and the advice and all those workshops that PACT put on that we was able to attend, all were extremely helpful. And the after school clubs, because he used to do tennis quite a lot. He's gone off tennis now, but he used to love tennis before COVID and things like that. But now he's at an age where we're going to be taking him to the youth club. We're going to be starting him in the youth club. So, you know, he's looking forward to it. And he's looking forward to meeting new people as well now, whereas before he wouldn't want to meet anybody. He's now looking forward to those sorts of things, which is great to see.
It is. And I think the one thing that comes out of this, the benefit of support group is, if you are going to go to a support group, it's to be open and to be brave enough to make the changes that people talk to you about,
Yes.
and to try them, because you can take as much advice, but if you don't put them into practice as you and your family have done,
Yeah.
then you're not necessarily going to make these inroads. And you have made a huge amount of changes
Yeah.
in yourselves to get to where you are. So
And the one thing as well is when you make those changes, they might not work straight away first time, but it's just to keep going at them. Eventually, they may be successful. If they don't work after many times, then yeah, you might need to adjust it and change a little bit. But just because it doesn't work first time means you could give up. But yes, I wasn't a particularly open person in 2018 when I moved to Lincoln. I'm a lot more open now, and like I say, I've learned an awful lot from Artemis, but from Pact as well, and from all the other support groups and charities and things like that that have been there to help and assist.
yeah,
But yes, it can work. Like I say, not every day. It doesn't work every day. You will always have challenges, but it definitely does reduce. You'll never get rid of all those problems, but you do find those foundations that you can put in to be able to build on for the future.
yeah, brilliant. We will leave it at that. I think that's a really good place to stop. And thank you yet again
Not a
for a
problem.
great contribution. And that was great. So thank you, Chris.
It's not a problem. Thank you.